Hey everybody, good evening again. Getting ready to start another broadcast here. As soon as you all cook up, as long as I get a few. Tonight's little bit is going to be from a request that I got. As I've been going through the ladies of metal and whatnot, I've been looking more at my era. So I thought I'd jump out of timeline right now. Hey Carl. Thought I'd jump out of timeline. Somebody suggested Lzzy Hale from Halestorm. Halestorm has been a pretty good band, man. She had a really good standing. Her band has won the Grammys. She's with her brother. Her brother's the drummer for the band, but she's also been with Shinedown. She's done with Trans-Siberian. She's done with Blackstone Cherry. Some of the ones that even Dream Theater is one of the big old dogs of rock, you know. So Lzzy Hale vocally is really good. She's also on the guitar. I've watched a couple of her performances. She's really great on that level. She's up there with people like Lita Ford, and she really does a great job on the instrument. She really does a really good job. So I thought, because it was suggested, I was going back and forth trying to figure who I would do tonight. Tomorrow, I have a big plan to do a painting tomorrow. So I wanted to do a little bit more, somebody from your suggestions. So Lzzy Hale is another. She's won Grammys. She's known, but in the central group, like the mainstream, still, she's rock. So Lizzy's kind of had her moments. Lzzy Hale's had her moments. So we're going to get started with her. And as always, starting with the eyes. Now, her eyes have really a great, especially now, you see she's kind of really, this picture I took because of what it does to her facial expression. She's really got a great facial expression. Her eye makeup and everything, as most of the women of rock had that really awesome eye makeup. So I thought Lzzy Hale would be really cool to kind of bring it home for those of you maybe who are a little bit more into rock than on this level, with this kind of people with these bands. And she's a little bit more she's a metal, like she kind of been included. I've seen her on a show that used to be on VH1 with Eddie Trunk called That Metal Show. So she's got the chops. She's got the works. She's just not a fly-by-night. So that's another reason why I want to kind of throw her into the mix. Is she's got a fierce look. This is the real reason I like her in this one. She's got a really fierce look. And she has that great rock scream look she's got a great voice. And she's no slouch on that level, but her guitar is really good too. She's got a pretty good size scream, so we're going to play on that. Her nose wrinkles up really cool. I have to admit that. I kind of was like grooving on that. She's got great furrows in her brow. So as far as that's concerned, I mean, she's really got something both visually and also performance-wise. Her other thing is what we used to call back in the day when I was working, she has kind of a teeth issue in that her teeth are really kind of small for the size, for the gum line. So I thought that'd be kind of cool to play off of. Her molars, as you can see, are pretty visible, man. When she's yelling, let me fill in this dark space here. So I think she's definitely got something worth giving it a try. Like I said, she's not on my wheelhouse per se, but she's there. She's in the group. She's in metal. And my job this month, I really was trying to give those ladies of metal a good play. Like I said, she's got more gum than she does teeth. So that's kind of interesting. I thought it was interesting too. She plays with her brother in the Halestorm. And I saw her in an interview with Eddie Trunk and the guys from that metal show. And she's got a great attitude. I mean, she does have that total rock, total metal attitude. And I guess I'm grooving on that too. So that's another reason why I kind of wanted to explore. Now, just to let you know, I've never drawn her before, so this is my first time really working at this with her. So this is kind of an exploration for me as well. I have been talking a little bit about the process in the past. So if we look, even though her mouth is really she's got a good sized mouth, her chin isn't really that big, so I'm not going to be that crazy about her chin. Her chin really isn't that, like a lot of people who have very long, thin faces, her chin really isn't that pronounced. She's a very awesome attitude, though. You can tell in the picture, man. She is just really having a great time. And I think, if anything, that's one of the major reasons why I wanted to tackle this one. Much like when I did Wendy O. Williams, Lizzie spoke to me, and the Lzzy Hale spoke to me in the sense that, now just out of interesting point, Liz, if you're still on, Lzzy Hale spells her name with no I. So it's Lizzy, lzzy, Hale. That's how she spells her name. So she's Lzzy Hale. And she has a band called Halestorm, which is with her brother. She was a big vocalist. I was reading up on her a little bit more before I started drawing. She's big on the vocals. She's done a lot of vocal work. I was saying earlier, she's done with Shinedown, a band called Device. She's sung with Trans-Siberian Orchestra, which is really a great group. Blackstone Cherry. I don't know if they're still together. I don't follow them very closely, and her hair is really dolled up in this really wicked looking bun. So I wanted to really get on that, and I really wanted to play with that a little. Now, one of the things I've always tried to do when I work on this is to give a little instruction. So one of the things I've noticed with her, she's got some pretty mean cheeks. When she smiles, everything here across the face kind of gets compressed, so that she's like really, I mean, everything's just getting pushed together. And as I'm drawing, I'm thinking about too, I've got her face in place. I mean, if you look at her, she almost looks like the Joker a little bit. She's got a little bit of that Joker, maybe that iconic big smile with the teeth, kind of became an iconic thing. She wears a lot of, she's the metal thing. She does the metal garb. She's got leather. She's got all that. She plays a mean guitar. I don't know what kind of guitar she's playing. Yeah, it's an Epiphone. Okay. Got a little wrinkle in her nose too. That was another thing I kind of liked, the way her nose wrinkled up when she's screaming. So that's another thing as a caricature artist. With her, it wasn't so much that I knew of her. And here's, we're going to have a little fun too with this. So sort of a cross between Pebbles Flintstone and the way he's got that little beep up at the top. But a lot of times with me, I key on faces a lot. If I don't know the genre or the area of music per se, or the area of them as a performing artist, it may be the face that I'll key on. The only problem comes down to then, hey Ernie, the only problem comes down to then when you start keying on the face and you're sitting there drawing the face and you're having a good time with it. Next thing you know, if you don't know who the person is or what they're about, you're kind of struggling what to do from there. Now she's got this really mean, wicked, studded jacket on. Let's see what we got there. So she's really, I mean, she's all studded up, man. I mean, she's got it all. So I think I'll really work that really big. I want to get that worked in. This idea, by the way, somebody suggested this to me. So that will become, this will become their property once I'm done. We'll turn this into a shadow. Give her neck in there. As you see, I mean, like to me, when I look at this, it looks like her, literally like her, she's being consumed by this studded leather piece. Now I could go back and draw every single one of these studs here on her jacket. That would drive me crazy. I would sit here for hours. But thanks to whiteout, which is my plan, I'm going to bring this in as a black. I'll be coloring it like I do my blacks. But then I'll come in with my whiteout and create the whites of the stud. Let me get her eyes in. Eyes I always draw last. Only because, well, that's the way I roll, you know. I always draw eyes in last because if I've got something that I decide to put in frame with the character, I'll know that I'll draw that first and then have that eye, the eyes checking out whatever they're. The name of her band, again, just to really recap, Halestorm's the name of the band. For those of you who are on the lighter side of metal and rock, I'm all about the thrash and the heavy metal. Lzzy Halestorm and Lzzy Halestorm is really a great. Their sound is very. It's got a good beat. It's got a good beat to dance to. Sounds like back in the day with American Bandstand, but she definitely has a sound that I think you might get into. Not as aggressive and mean and all that a lot of the metal bands go with. So I'm going to start coloring that jacket in. And like I said before, I don't fully fill in the blacks of the jacket. I only go back and create the highlights. Even if you look at here, she's got some grayer areas and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead and just create some highlights, create some sheen off of that, give it a little bit of a... I mean, her attitude is there, man. I mean, the attitude is there, and that's what I love the best. I love a character that I can... That's why I think when I... when I started Six Flags, I was literally poster child for caricature. Two reasons being, number one, I was a pretty big guy back then. In terms of weight, and also I just had an attitude, man. I was out there. I was not like a mean attitude, just I wanted to have fun, man. I was out to have a great time. I was very interactive. I didn't wait for people to come up to me. I came up to them. So for a new kid on the block and you're running around 40 years old and you got all these young bucks walking around and they're all trying to do their thing and you're trying to do your thing, and it was a lot of fun, man. It was the greatest time of my life. Learned a lot, worked with a lot of really great artists. I think that's the one hardest thing in this industry. This COVID thing has done, and for a lot of us artists, like caricature artists, performing artists, you miss that opportunity to go out and see your friends, work with the guys that you like working with. I don't know, Ernie. Hey, Jazz. I don't know if Ernie's still on, but Ernie Posey and I work together at Navy Pier. We do gigs together every so often. Even crazy guys like Jazz that I used to meet up with at Navy Pier every so often. You can't do that now, man. And I think that's what I miss the most about all this. So I'm substituting my need to get out by staying in and videoing all this. If you come to see it, thank you very much. I also point out too that if you know of anybody in the rock metal community as far as women are concerned right now, to the end of March, I will be doing mostly women. If you come up with celebrities, if you throw me some ideas for celebrities maybe even that you like, tell you what, I've said it before, I will say it again. You give me that suggestion, I draw that suggestion, that piece of art will be yours by the end of the night. But I also want to impress too that I make a living at this, so if you have any pictures of family members, people that you know that you want drawn, I work digitally as well as by what's called traditional techniques. I can do one person, I've done up to 15. So it's not unheard of for me to do whole families. So if you have an event, maybe let's say somebody's having a birthday, wedding, we also now in my business, lzzy Caricature, we're now doing hand-painted ceramic mugs. Let me bring this up just to show you what I'm doing down here. Down here, I'm creating a shape by using her jacket. I'm creating this really cool kind of irregular shape, just using the lapels and whatnot. So through lzzy Caricature, my company that I work through personally, we have started doing glasses. I did one for a wedding that we're going to have in August. I've done a mug for a dear friend of mine, really awesome artist. So I do mugs, I do hand-painted glassware. So if you have a wedding coming up and you want to take like fluted glasses for the bride and groom, which I thought was a really great idea. When I kind of came up with this, I saw somebody else doing it somewhere, and I thought it'd be awesome. I'm creating a bit of a frame now around the figure. I do this to separate everything. Kind of separate the figure from the paper. Create that. Yeah, she turned out really well too. I'm really happy with that. Lzzy Hale, her name is, and she spells it without an I, by the way. Yeah. Oh, thanks, Ernie. Ernie put up how much he learned from me at Navy Pier. He doesn't realize how much I learned from him. That was the other side of working with artists like Ernest. When you work with another artist, there is a quiet competition that kind of goes on. It's not a... I guess I want to call it a competition on one level. You want to outdo the other guy, but on another level you want to learn and you want to challenge yourself. So, like Ernie's a big comic book guy. He does some really great comic book stuff. His style is really a cool style I kind of started grooving on. And his techniques. So if you know of anybody who's interested in any caricature work from photographs, I love working from photographs. Especially now with photographs, I prefer, if you're going to work with a photograph, I prefer you have a couple of photographs. I just dropped that. That's how small these are. I got to get new sticks. I prefer to work from a couple of photographs only because that lends itself to an easier time seeing all the features. So back to Lzzy Hale. Lzzy spells her name Lzzy. Jazz, you may want to check her out because her vocals are pretty cool. You may groove on her vocals a little. Jazz is a jazz artist. Jazz and I met over at Navy Pier. He is a really well-accomplished artist in his own right. As a jazz musician and all-around decent guy, man. And Lzzy Hale has done the rounds. She's really done the rounds. I mean, she's done a lot of vocal work with different bands, different groups. Before, even with doing Halestorm, which is HALE storm. Apparently, there's another Halestorm. I don't know if it's a band or it's also a weather condition, you know. But she's got a very pronounced mouth. I'm going to put some pink in just to fill that up. So, just because sometimes these areas like this that's got that really pronounced. The best thing about Prismacolor too is you can kind of work, it's like a pastel in the sense that you can put it on real light. The best part about it is that I can do this and the color won't come off. But if I just push a little harder, give a little friction to it, it will blend very nicely. You can get some really awesome gradations out of it. I used to do airbrushing, which was my favorite. Still is my favorite thing to do. Airbrushing is expensive. Oh boy. And I'll put a little pink in there for the tone. So now I'm doing my colors. The first color I always lay down is the flesh tone, which is, I mean, if you talk to a portrait artist, and I've talked to several portrait artists, the first thing I do, because I painted portraits in my day, I've done oil portraits, and you see other portrait artists, and the first question I asked was, what do you use for flesh tone? And any artist worth his weight in portraiture will tell you there is no such thing as a flesh tone. The flesh will take on different appearances depending on the environment, the color that's around them, and things like that. So that plays a big part. As you can see here, I'm throwing in some reds to really give that lipstick that she's really got very pronounced. I became aware of her, I think it was in 2004 or 5, maybe even a little later than that, through a thing called That Metal Show. They had her on, and she had the look. You know, so many people can put the metal look on because right away the metal look is, of course, hey, oh, thanks, Jose. Jose came up with Pat Benatar. So because of that fact, and I'm saying right now that if anybody comes up with somebody that I draw, if you're going to come up with an idea, PM me. Right now I'm working on the Ladies of Metal at the moment. Ladies of Rock, Metal. That's why I'm doing Lzzy Hale. Somebody came up with that for me. And they will receive this drawing for participating. So if you have a particular celebrity towards the end of March, I'm going to keep trying to do this. I'm really enjoying it. I'm really having a great time. So towards in March, I will be doing all sorts of things, and I'll be looking for all sorts of ideas. So if you send me a PM, let me know a particular actor, actress. I'll be honest with you, as far as musicians are concerned, I would prefer they be in the rock wheelhouse because, well, I like rock and roll. I'm sorry. And I'm going to be kind of picky on that level. But all the other ones, actors, actresses, I enjoy. Performance artists of all types. So actors and actresses, I love movies. I'm trying to see what her eye color looks like. Her eye color is kind of brownish. Yeah, she's got a really brown eye color. As I said up here, she's got kind of that Pebbles look. The way her hair is done. She's a cross between the Pebbles. I've said before about a lot of the women of rock, especially the earlier ones, like Pat Benatar. The big ones I think are Joan Jett, Pat Benatar. The women I drew first. These were the first ladies I started drawing. Lita Ford. These were the ladies who started it all in the rock game. So not only were they working up against men, as you will hear a lot of women say that was their biggest problem, is working up against men. But I dare say I think the other problem that was probably even more challenging was coming up with that unique voice, finding their voice in the midst of all that, finding their way of expressing themselves as a musician. If jazz is still there, jazz probably, if you get a chance to look jazz up, Jasper Myers. I met him through Navy Pier. But the biggest thing with them was the fact that they had to find a way to get into the market. Not just because they were women, but because they wanted to bring a sound that was unique to their own. They didn't want to do, of course, some of the glam metal bands were kind of doing, the hair metals. So now she's got a really studded outfit. So instead of trying to draw each little stud, I'm going to come back with my whiteout, and I'm just going to sit down and I'm going to draw little circles to really make that pop, to really emphasize and accentuate those, because that looks so cool. I've done a picture of Rob Halford from Judas Priest, and just a point of education, Judas Priest, Rob Halford, was the one who came up with the look that we now know as metal. And that's predominantly because that was his, who he hung out with. He's a gay rock star. He used to hang out in the gay bars, and at that day and time, that this was part of their attire. I mean, this is what they wore. He often laughed at people who said that the old hair bands, they said they were gay because of what they wore. And I believe I've often heard him said that, they'd be laughed right out of the bar. They would not even make it. That's more of a drag queen kind of thing. So Rob Halford brought forward this look. Rob Halford gave us this look, and it's been a signature part of the metal crowd ever since. She's got studs on here. This whiteout, by the way, is great stuff if you ever get into painting or drawing or doing marker work. Great way to do highlights. Do the highlights in her eyes. So Lzzy Hale, I think, came in at a good time because Lzzy Hale, thanks Jim. Lzzy Hale came in, I think, at the right time because I think there's a shift going on in the metal community, both towards a more female, but it's also kind of, much to my own chagrin, being an old metalhead, being an old Slayer. I can't say Slayer the way we all would say Slayer in the business, but those that follow Slayer, because there's a naughty word that's connected with it. Begins with an F and ends with a K. Anyway, so metal has become a little bit more on the lighter side, less aggressive in its approach. So I think Lzzy Hale came in at a great time. I think she's a great performer. She's definitely a great guitarist. You ever get a chance, like I said, for those who like rock and want a little, who maybe get a little curious about metal, I would say check out Lzzy Hale, and the name of the band is Halestorm. That's Hale Storm. Check out Halestorm. Halestorm is a great band. They've got a great arrangement. She does great on guitars. Her vocals are there. They are really, really good. So I'm just laying in some darker colors. Again, I don't know much about her. Thankfully, I think because of the woman she is, which is a true musician, she's not there to play the cabaret look. She wants to go in there and she wants to be respected and liked for her performance. She's not worried about trying to turn her act into as big a stage production as somebody, that just trying to gain attention that way. I don't know what her stage setup is like. Never seen her in concert, but I've seen her videos, and I'm an old metal guy. I came from the time of Slayer, like I was saying, Slayer, Metallica, Anthrax, Megadeth, who I had the great opportunity to win a contest to design a Christmas card for them, and I had a wonderful opportunity to talk to Dave Mustaine, frontman and creator of Megadeth. Nice guy, really, really cool guy. God, he's really awesome dude. So you can see where with Lizzy's coming along. Now, if you see, I've really kind of played up a little bit more on her mouth. I made that a little bit longer. But one of the things, and if I could get into the teaching mode real quick, if you're gonna stretch in this direction, you got to make sure you start pulling things this way, because it's kind of like the face works in that way. If you pull in one direction, something else has got to be moved in. If I gave her a big nose, for instance, I'd have to pull back over here. If I gave her nose down here, her chin would have to come up. So there's all sorts of things that go on when you're doing caricatures that you think about, that you have to consider. I think I'll use green instead. I also talked about the fact that portrait artists break the face down into 3 areas. This is the yellow area, red area, and greens and blues. And this area here, I'm going to throw it a little green just to kind of drop that back. I've got to be real delicate though, so I don't give her a 5 o'clock shadow. There we go, we're back again. So this is Lzzy Hale, lzzy. Lzzy Hale from Halestorm. Halestorm is a really great band. She plays opposite her brother, he pulls the drum kit. He's the drummer for the band. If you get a chance, look her up. She's on iTunes. I'm going to throw a little white in the eye too, just because I colored over that. She's on iTunes, so if you want to check her out, look her up. Great sound, great guitar. I mean, it's there. She's got everything that deserves her the right to be in the metal wheelhouse, man. But she's also, I think, personally, she's one of those performers and artists that spends, I believe, more time trying to really perfect her craft and not sit around waiting for people to, kind of acknowledge her and, run around after her. She definitely has what it takes. So I think I'm where as far as I'm going to go with her. I don't want to get too dark, only because I don't want to take away from, she's very fair skinned, and I don't want to get too dark. But again, played up that teeth. You know, she's got the little teeth and a big mouth. She's got a really good sized mouth. Curve. She's got this really cool curve on her lips. She does almost look like a bow. With that being like the string pulling back on a bow. So that's another thing I played up. So this is part of what I think about as I'm drawing. I guess I'm searching for analogies. Like here, I just said this reminds me of a bow. Some people's mouths remind me of the letter D. She doesn't have a lot of highlight or a lot of sheen in her hair, but I'll just throw a couple of highlights in the hair just so it doesn't look so flat. This was suggested by somebody watching the other day. They hit me up on direct message. They made this suggestion. I forgot all about her, and I was kind of trying to think of somebody to draw. And I thought, well, okay, I'll draw her. And as a result, anybody you throw in a suggestion to me, please PM me with anything you've got, any ideas. If I draw that person that night, the artwork will be yours. I'll hit you up, ask you for your address, free of charge. Because of the fact that this is just paper, there will be no charge for delivery. But I do want to go run down, in fact, that C2Z Caricature, my company, we do mugs. We're offering 20% off on all mugs that are being painted, 10% off on all caricatures that are being done. And again, free shipping on caricatures because they're paper, like this. If we do them like this, it's free. We also do digital. Just to let you know, we can also go via digital. So you can take it to your local Kinko's or Office Depot or Office Max or whatever's out there. You can get it printed up there. We won't charge you for that either. Mugs, however, we do have to charge for shipping because there's a bit with the mugs with shipping. So here's Lzzy Hale from Halestorm. In fact, I'm going to pull a little white in on the edges here just to kind of separate this a little bit more from the background. Lzzy Hale, Halestorm, look her up. Awesome metal sound. As I said, not exactly my particular style of metal. And in fact, I love my thrash bands, but in terms of the metal community, she definitely is there. So, Dave Kurbis, C2Z Caricature. Look me up on Instagram on Biomech. Go to my website at c-z-caricature.com. You can check me out there, mail me through there. We do offer face painting, but right now, due to the COVID, we're not doing that right now. So, but keep us in mind for any future parties as far as face painting. If you have birthdays, weddings, caricatures you want done, 10% off all caricatures. And 20% off mugs and glassware if you want glasses painted on. Caricatures painted on glass. We do that as well. The mug and glassware is light dishwasher safe. The colors won't come off as long as it's light. Can't put it on a real nasty blast, but... So there she is. Lzzy Hale. Let me put my signature on here to prove that it's done, and I'm going to leave it alone. Although any artist out there knows that you'll sign something and go, oh, wait a minute, I see this, I see that. And only the reason I'm also letting it go is because I could just spend hours sitting here. I could look right now and just get the dark of the mouth filled in a little better. So like I said, check me out on Instagram, check me Facebook. If you want to PM me with any ideas for people to draw, I will put them on my list for end of March for April. We're coming up on April. So I'll put them on the list. See who I got bring up. And oddly enough too, this is Metal Month. Some of my favorite magazines are celebrating, this is Metal Month for Metal Hammer and so forth. So, Lzzy Hale, Halestorm, and that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you had a good time. I had sure as hell had a good time doing it. It's always a lot of fun. If, again, any ideas you have, PM me. You have any family members you want drawn? I also draw pets too, dogs and whatnot. And see if this is another reason why I gotta let you go, because man, I'm gonna sit here and work on this all night long. So, Lzzy Hale, Halestorm, Ladies of Rock and Metal. This is Dave Kurbis saying good night. Keep metal, keep real, keep it going, keep safe, keep social distancing, and I will catch you all tomorrow. Tomorrow, just to let you up for anybody who's following right now, tomorrow I have a painting planned, and it's going to be a very unique painting because I have a very unique lady of metal that I'm going to be honoring tomorrow. So, you guys have a great night. Peace out, metal out. Have a great one. Enjoy yourselves.